Hello, welcome back to my channel. Hi. So my mom came to visit a few days ago, and she brought me my phone stand, which I have repeatedly forgot to bring here. Every time I go back to my hometown, I would tell myself, when I return to KL, I would bring my phone stand so that it would be easier to record my booktube videos, because then I would have something to mount my phone on. But I always forgot, and I've forgotten for like more than a year now. So finally, my mom she brought this phone stand with me just randomly, and now my phone is on the stand at this moment. So booktubing is a little bit more convenient now. Yeah. Anyway, how many days since the last upload? I don't remember. I actually have one more video from Taiwan gallivanting that I have not uploaded yet, and that was from sometime in March. So I will probably upload that in very soon, but I think this one will probably come up first. Yeah. Also, another update in my life is that a few days ago, I think I just recovered from some kind of cold. It wasn't exactly like a full-blown flu, but it had like some flu-like symptoms. It was probably like a cold and flu, something in between. I don't know what it is, but I recovered. But as you may be able to hear from my voice right now, my voice probably sounds a little bit different than usual, and it's because of that. I do have a little bit of coughing once in a while these few days, but overall it has been nice. It feels so nice to not have a flu or a cold. It feels so nice. I remembered last week for 2 days I could not go to the lab. I couldn't go to school because it was just bad. I felt like crap those 2 days, and it was annoying. And it was also annoying because I didn't read anything those 2 days because I couldn't focus. Yeah. Speaking about reading, this is a booktube channel, so I'm going to talk about books. I have finished one book so far since my last upload, and that would be this one. This is Little Eyes by Samanta Schweblin. This book was originally written in Spanish. Samanta Schweblin is a writer from Argentina. And yeah, this book was originally in Spanish. It was translated into English by McDowell. Yeah. And this book was originally published in Spanish, I think. When was that? Originally published in Spanish and in a slightly different form as Kentucky's by Literatura Random House, Barcelona in 2018. And so the translation was in 2020, I think. Yeah, I wasn't exactly thrilled by this book. It has a really interesting premise, but somehow I just thought that the writing and the execution was not it didn't do the premise and the idea justice. So what is this book about? This book is set in a modern world where a kind of gadget is taking the world by storm. Like, this gadget becomes really popular. It's called Kentucky, and apparently it is this gadget takes the form of cute animal plush. And what this gadget does is that it has a camera inside. So basically, the person who buys this Kentucky for themselves, right, they would have some kind of pet or electronic pet that could sort of live with them, and these consumers would be called keepers, right? And but that's not all. Like, another layer to Kentucky is that because this gadget has camera, so there's actually another person, a random person at different parts of the world controlling this Kentucky. So the movements of this Kentucky, basically it's controlled by this other person, and this other person can also see the life of the keeper of the Kentucky through the cameras in the eyes of these like creepy plush. And so this other person that controls the Kentucky is called the dweller, and basically upon purchase of a Kentucky, the keeper or the owner of the Kentucky is aware of the fact that there is a person from a different part of the world sort of residing inside this Kentucky, and basically they can have some kind of communication, two-way or 1.5 way communication between the keeper and the dweller. The dweller can't speak directly to the keeper because the Kentucky can only like purr or move and stuff like that, but the keeper can just sort of like talk to whatever to whoever this dweller is. Like, the dweller would be able to see the keeper, to see their house, to hear their voice, whatever. And this connection is usually random. Like, the dweller would have like some kind of access card, and so this like this card of the code will randomly be paired to like a kind of like a pre-established link with a Kentucky that is in a different part of the world. So basically that's kind of like how it is. Yeah, that's the world of this novel. And the story in here, it's not just one story, but you have like multiple stories told through the perspective, not through the perspective, but told about different people, different users of Kentucky at different parts of the world, and how their experiences are with Kentucky, especially in relation to interpersonal relationships. And for the most part, the different stories of these individuals who use Kentucky, either as a keeper or a dweller, their stories usually go somewhat bleak. So the overall tone of this novel is kind of gloomy. There is some kind of pessimism in here that sort of runs through this entire novel. And I find that part quite interesting. There is a certain kind of pessimism in terms of how technology is being employed in the world of this novel, instead of instead of having some kind of technological optimism. This novel focuses more on the negative impact or implication of having some kind of hyper connectivity between random people in different parts of the globe. And so basically this novel interrogates what would be the implication of having this kind of hyper level of connectivity between people. What are the possible effects that this kind of this level of connectivity could bring on human relationships, and also how does that sort of interact with the kind of more organic human relationships that is already established between humans in real life versus through the virtual world, the virtual connectivity through the use of Kentucky. Yeah, so there is a strong focus on relationships in this book, and to be honest, that idea is definitely something that I can say I gravitate towards. But but this is the part that kind of disappoints me a little bit. So the first thing that kind of disappointed me was that there is so much promise uh, that I could sense, given the fact that this book takes place in different cities or towns around the world, which means that we should be able to explore different locales, different culture, and to a certain extent, yes, we are able to experience the locales depending on where the characters live. Like you have characters who live in Mexico, in the United States. You have characters in Croatia, Peru. Basically many different parts of the world, in Norway. So yeah, many different parts of the world. But I find that the colorfulness of its setting is not very well explored in the book. I think because the book is dissecting the impact of technology, it would be very interesting to see how interwoven or how interlinked technology would be with the culture that is already pre-existing that in those different places. That would be really interesting. I mean, yeah, we can see that, you know, different places have different, it shows that, oh, it has this location, it has that location, it has this person speaking this language. Yeah, but it all feels just kind of superficial. What I would have wanted to see is how people in different countries or cities feel about Kentucky, how their attitudes are. And I think their attitudes towards this technological device would have been kind of different depending on what are the predominant attitudes in those different places. So yeah, that's one thing that I find to be kind of a missed opportunity in this book. Now another one has something a bit to do with the tone. So like I mentioned, there is a bit of a pessimism that runs through this book, which is fine, you know, because this book has a bit of an dystopian angle to it. But at the same time, this pessimism does not feel deep enough. This book sort of shows a world that feels dystopian, but at the same time, as a reader, I feel like, I don't really mind living in this dystopian world. Like, I could just choose not to use Kentucky and I'll probably be fine. But I think it would have been more interesting if we could see even larger impacts of the Kentuckys in this world. What would really happen to people even if they actively disengage from Kentucky, right? Will there be some kind of some kind of impacts that they would experience even if they try to not use it? That would be really interesting, because most of the time we are just seeing characters who use the device, but we're not really seeing the stories in here through the point of view of people who are not really using it. Like, we have characters who don't use it, but they're just like really in the periphery. So it doesn't really feel like very punchy to me. And so in that sense, there is a bit of a superficiality in how the topic is handled in this book. So it just didn't really hit that spot in my heart. Yeah, so it would have been much more interesting if we can get like a much layered story. Yeah, and also something related to kind of like the pessimism of this book. It didn't feel punchy enough, and at the same time, it also just feels kind of cliche. Like it explores the idea of the possible negative impacts of high levels of connectivity, especially between strangers, and it's not a new idea, you know. It's not something fresh. We know that can bring some potential negative impacts, and so in that sense, the book also doesn't really offer something really fresh, really new, or anything that really challenges my view on things. So yeah, I was slightly disappointed by that. Because I thought that this book just felt kind of easy, and because of that, it just felt a bit boring. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't want to just trash this book, because I feel like many of y'all are probably going to be really interested in this book, because I think that this book, after all, is very interesting. I've heard of the author's work being mentioned many times online, and in fact, before I got this book, I actually got another of Samanta Schweblin's book. I think it's called A Mouthful of Birds, and I'm interested to read that one as well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that one is a short story collection. But yeah, anyway, I just kind of want to end my sort of like rambling comments on this book with an aspect that I particularly like. Like, it's not all like disappointing to me. Like, there are certain parts that felt brilliant and that I genuinely enjoyed. So one of the stories in this book involves an older woman who is a keeper of a Kentucky. No, she's not a keeper of the Kentucky. She's actually the dweller of the Kentucky. And through her screen, she's able to observe the life of another younger woman who lives in Germany. And instantly, she has this kind of like maternal instinct that kicks in. And it all just also relates to her own personal family relationship with her son as well. So that story to me is kind of interesting, and the way that story just kind of ends, there is a certain gut punch that I felt, because she would eventually get a certain shocking realization about the real nature of her connection with this younger woman in Germany, and how that just sort of did not, or rather how that expectation of her connection did not align with what she thought it was. And that part I thought was written quite well, and it was also quite powerful. So that is like one of my favorite parts of this novel. Yeah. So overall, I would still recommend this book. I personally gave it like 2 or 2.5 out of 5 stars, but you know, that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, this is the only book that I finished since the last upload. I actually have like 21 books in my currently reading shelf on Goodreads, because I've been like adding new books every time I see something shiny. I just wanted to try something new, because I'm just in that mood right now. But anyway, I hope I could finish all of those 21 books within this year. That's like my personal goal. And I am also reading some nonfiction this month because of People April, and yeah, I'm kind of excited by that. You know, it's like I'm trying something new. It's nice. Anyway, I'll see you again in a different one. So, yeah, let me know. Have you read this book? What you think about it? And if you're interested in reading this book, I hope you're not discouraged by my rants. I just want to say I don't want to discourage anyone by any of my ranting or negative comments or whatever, because it's just my comment. In fact, I hope that even if you've heard my rants, it will make you feel even more interesting to try, so that you can hopefully get a different kind of experience. I think that would be awesome. So yeah, let me know what you're reading right now. Let me know what you're having for dinner today. Because I don't know what I want to have for dinner, and it's 7 p.m. now, but I'm not really hungry, so it's not really urgent anyway. So bye.